Welcome to the Innovate Summit podcast. Join us every week for the heartbeat between our biannual curated room of human-centered innovation. And here are your hosts, Brian Wallace and Drew Sutton. And welcome back to the show. We're here again, and this time we've got our friend Dave Moravec, who sometimes I say Moravec, but I know better.
Yeah, Moravec is the best way. Moravec is second best.
Okay. As long as you're not late for dinner, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So glad to have you here. We're not even far from each other right now physically, but worlds collide. Actually, this is a rather geographically close podcast overall right now. That's pretty cool. But yeah, welcome to the show. It's great to see you.
Thanks.
Video's close enough too.
Yeah, glad to be here. It's been fun getting to know you and Drew over the last couple of years. The Innovate Summit in Louisville was a blast. My first opportunity to interact with the individuals that were there, and I've connected with many of them after the fact. One-on-ones have been rampant from the meetings, from the introductions that were made there.
Outstanding, man. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I want to jump in here real quick. Dave is the consummate connector. I thought that I was pretty good at the art, and then I got to meet Dave, and Dave has continuously impressed me. Dave, do you still have my screen? The books are a little bit small. Do you still have the black books on the shelf up behind you?
I do.
So tell us real quick what those are. This is I love this because it's just an example of your, you're well seasoned, but actually you just deep well of experience.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Over on this side is a book called Echoes Across the Tracks, and It was my first novel. It intersects the year 1914 with the present time, and there was a organization called the Alexander Hamilton Institute. Back in 1909, they started. 1914, they started publishing books. And what they did was they took thought leaders, could be the three of us plus 25 others, got them in a room and said, we need to provide tools for general managers, middle managers within large companies on all sorts of business topics. And so they started with marketing and sales and advertising back at the time, operations and accounting, the commercial law. And these thought leaders came together and basically wrote an encyclopedia on each of these topics. About 1919, they formalized the process into 24 volumes that are illustrated up here, and they're prescriptive in nature, 300 pages each, plus or minus a few pages, but intended for 10 pages per day, 30 days. You would be a subject matter expert in each one of these disciplines within business. And I picked up one in 2014 on sales and marketing and have incorporated it into Echoes Across the Tracks. But more importantly, the most important takeaway is that many of the lessons within those books still apply today. So easy examples in accounting, debits and credits, they haven't changed in hundreds, if not thousands of years. Banking, if you look at the banking section, if you borrow money, you're intended to pay interest. Well, that goes back thousands of years. Those concepts still exist. Well, from 1919 or 1914 to today, many of those things can apply. And so I wrote a book called Echoes of Success, specifically around the sales side of things, and 19 lessons from that book compiled into today's language, today's jargon.
I love it.
And it's really good. Sorry.
Yeah. So you wrote, Echoes Across the Tracks, Echoes of Success. It's this interesting narrative format where a guy is riding the train and he's interacting with people from different time periods. I love the idea of these nuggets of wisdom being timeless. Which is your favorite little vignette from the book?
Well, I think succession planning today, the main character, Charlie, gets off the train in Jackson, Mississippi, and he interacts with a hotel owner. And the hotel owner isn't there yet. His son is, and he starts talking to him about the business itself and the innovation that they've put into this brand new hotel. And he's amazed because this is 1914. They've got some things that were cutting edge at that time, like even an ice machine, ice maker. And but then the owner comes into the picture, enters the conversation, and it starts along the lines of succession planning. And businesses back in the day naturally passed from the owner to his son to his grandson and so on down the line. Today we buy and sell businesses, with equity and stock, and I mean, small business, big business, doesn't matter. But back then it was naturally passed down. And I've said the most important time to plan for succession is yesterday. And the second most important time is today, because usually events cause the business owner to start thinking about, what do I do with my business? And it's usually one of 3 or 4 things. The son or daughter decides or says to mom or dad, nope, I don't really want to be in your business. It could be a health event that charges them a heart attack, of some kind of accident that says, oh, I got to do something with the business. And lastly is a financial concern or thought that, hey, I'm going to outlive the business, and what do I do? And so that's been first and foremost in my mind. And the interaction that takes place between the hotel owner and the main character in the book it really emphasizes the subtitle for the book, which is Life Lessons Through Unexpected Connections. It wasn't intended that he was going to time travel back to 1914 to interact with a hotel owner, but he did, and both of them had a takeaway from that conversation.
Very cool. I love the succession planning. A lot of the times, AI is hyped, but there's this subcurrent that says that AI is going to remove all the entry-level jobs. And so there's going to be this big gap in succession planning. But I think there's already a gap in society where we're not doing a good job succession planning. Brian, I know that you are mediocre at best on AI. Can you stab at that idea of succession planning and the intersection of AI?
Well, that's a loaded question. He doesn't say much, so let's give him unfiltered thoughts about AI. I feel like that should be its own podcast. I'll say that I'm worried about the economics of the whole thing. So I worry that a lot of the world is so tied into AI in its regular procedural dynamics of how they do their day-to-day jobs, that what happens if your favorite AI pet isn't there tomorrow because the finances don't work anymore and it doesn't work, or it costs $1,000 instead of it being free. So yes, aside from all the AI slop that everybody's seen more than enough of in the world, outsourcing your brain isn't as good an idea as you might think. And I think Dave has a really good working brain. Something I was going to say, I was going to say other things that happened in that hotel encounter, because unlike a lot of books that sit on my shelves or that I read once, I've read Dave's book multiple times and recommend it everywhere. Dave knows how to tell a story. I don't think AI or people that don't really understand the art and science and soul behind conversation to get people's attention. It doesn't mean that we don't know how to write a bulleted list like AI or any pragmatist, but it means that we know how to get people's attention so that they pay attention for more and that they feel the intrigue to want to bother to continue. And I think that's what all three of us kind of have in common when we think about the interpersonal dynamics out there. If I could take a turn on this is me deflecting the larger AI conversation, by the way.
I was just pulling your string there.
This isn't the Brian Hates AI podcast. I'm not a Luddite. I'm literally like on this video with you guys. This is a fairly sophisticated, probably tons of AI. Like, we don't edit the show, by the way. AI does all of it. It's magical. There could be people yelling in the background. You won't even hear it because it does things like getting rid of filler words and pauses almost automatically. You press a button or you toggle a switch. It's great. This is Riverside FM, by the way, guys, not a paid placement. So
I was about
something
to
that I
say.
was going to say here, because I think it's important that we think about this. Our friend David Homan, who Drew has met, and I don't think Dave has met, has his own community. He's a musical conductor. He has something called the Orchestrated Connections, and he has a book and all sorts of stuff. He led off with a really cool activity during year 2 when we were still in Owensboro for the event before we went to Louisville. And he always likes to talk about honoring the chain of connections. So why don't we just do that for a quick second, just so everybody knows how Dave kind of came into our little world. So once upon a time, there's a guy named Joseph Lewin who I would say probably sooner than later will show himself on this podcast. And he podcasts all day and has all sorts of shows. So podcasting the podcaster should be fun. So Joseph knows Bob Berg, rather famous author that we're all fans of because he wrote a great book called The Go-Giver. Not the Go-Getter, but The Go-Giver. Really leaning into offering help without the expectation of return, or at least not just being transactional in the world, because the laws of reciprocity will take care of you as long as you keep doing the right thing. And Kim Angeli, who works with Bob, actually came and spoke the first year, right? Second year? No, second year.
Second
Oh,
year for
how
sure.
many
I
years?
think she was there the first year as
second year.
well.
No, it was second year. And Kim, unfortunately, couldn't come this past May in Louisville. And Kim said, I'm sorry I can't come this year, but boy, I have somebody that you need to meet. And guess who that was? This guy right here. Boy, I need like some emojis or something. I needed some like party poppers or something. I need to have like one of those air horns where it's like, "Brr, brr, brr." Oh, there is one. Okay, cool. I don't know. Do the reactions show up on the, you'll have to let us know, guys, if that shows up on the video or if that's just to entertain us here in the studio booth. And that's how Dave came to us. And why don't we bring the conversation on home into, I'm not ending it here at 12 minutes, don't get me wrong. But I think when we think about telling a story, but then crossing that into the interpersonal dynamics of connection conductors, because I know, Drew, you kind of came up with the idea and you and I really kind of harnessed it, and the Blake Weissmans of the world and some of the other people. We had Matt Silverman on in the last podcast. And right away, as soon as you met Dave and as soon as I met Dave, we're both like, man, like this guy is such a natural fit. I'd love to hear your all's thoughts on it. Why don't we go Drew first on that one?
So I was enjoying the conversation, but what's the specific question? How to use story?
Great stream of consciousness, Brian, but what the heck are you talking about? Yeah, that's fair. Sorry, I just stitched like 28 minutes together.
Conductors. I'll take the first pass, Brian.
Just to restate the question for everybody.
I'll feed it back to
go for it, man. Yeah, go for it, Dave.
But Kim made the introduction to the two of you, and I was in Drew's podcast longer ago, and Kim's known for a saying that says, it's not your customer's job to remember you. It's your job to be unforgettable. And she has done that with me for a whole variety of, relationship building things. But when I heard about connection conductors, what I thought about, Brian, and I shared this with you at the time, and Drew as well, is that we go to conferences and we randomly sit next to somebody to our left and to our right, and we have no idea whether or not they will or won't be a connection for us or a reasonable relationship building opportunity. Not too different than getting on a train, right? You sit next to somebody on an airplane or a train or wherever, and you go, well, I don't know who it is that's sitting next to me. We go to these conferences and we sit down at lunch at a round table and we exchange business cards. But we don't necessarily know whether or not there's a reason for a connection there. Yeah, we're maybe all at the same conference. And the thought behind the connection conductors was actually engineering relationships prior to and during and then potentially after the event by knowing why you're there and who you're wanting to meet and the purpose behind being there. So that if I were sitting next to Drew and there was a real reason for Drew and I to connect, for whatever reason, that it was an intentional process. And that's what I found in Louisville prior to the event and helping Drew and the other people that were involved in the connection conductors actually make those connections. And that to me was revolutionary, different than other conferences. And Drew, you experienced that in the 2 years previous. And I wonder if you saw the importance of that differently this year and how it will affect us going into Nashville.
Relationships are such an interesting dynamic. I'm an engineer, which means that it's like a productive version of autism, I think. I come at the world in boxes. I call them gazintas and gozatas. So this is the box, the software design that I'm making, and there's things that go into it and goes out of it. And human relationships can be a chain of trust building scenarios. One of my favorite authors wrote this book called The Like Switch. And the guy's job, he's a FBI agent, and his job was to flip Cold War Soviet agents to be double agents. So his job was to befriend a Russian agent, convince them to switch to America's team, and then feed bad information back to Russia. And so he describes the 4 aspects of developing a relationship, which is proximity, intensity, frequency, and duration. So if we live on the same street and we go at 8 to 7:30 every morning to the bus stop to go to work together, we have proximity and frequency. So we're probably going to be somewhat good friends. But if we don't spend a lot of time together, we're not going to be exponentially better friends. And so when you have an event like Louisville, or now it's going to be Nashville, which is going to be really great, you have a lot of intensity and you have a lot of duration, but you won't have the frequency and the proximity. And so, getting us to physically be in the same place all day together, and then keeping those relationships and those topics of conversation fresh, I think is part of what makes it exciting for me. Because you can actually generate relationships, not out of thin air, but you're in this area of trust, and then it's my job, it's the connection conductor's jobs to spark. We're pressed in tightly. We're in proximity. We're spending a lot of time together, but we don't have anything to talk about. And so just a little bit of a crack of a conversation. I know Dave said he was like, whatever we do, let's not talk about tinfoil hats. One of my favorite things to do after about 3 hours of everybody being in the room is I'll say, hey, what's your favorite tinfoil hat, which is your conspiracy theory. I always like to lead with, I don't think we landed on the moon, not because I believe that, but just because it's just this outlandish thing it's highly emotionally charged. And then everybody starts sharing their favorite conspiracy theories, like birds aren't real or whatever. Another conversation starter that I love is, what's your theme song? So like, what song plays in your head when you enter a room? And if I have time, I will try to get that on a Spotify track. And then if everybody's at dinner, I'll try to get that before dinner so we can play that. And then when a song pops up, we're like, all right, who's this song? What's your favorite guilty pleasure, work appropriate guilty pleasure? Which for me is this whole genre of literature called lit RPG. And I have found that a lot of people really enjoy that. Like, I'm kind of embarrassed that I enjoy it. It's kind of like I listened to Pandora, like before Spotify, Pandora was the music thing, right? And I looked at my Pandora thing and I was like, man, there's a lot of Katy Perry playing on this. And I looked and I had thumbs up every Katy Perry song. So Pandora, like all my channels in Pandora gradually tend towards Katy Perry songs. And I'm deeply embarrassed by this, but the data
There's
says—
no shame in Katy Perry. You could be a grown
right, but the data says that I like it. So lit RPG is kind of that way too. Anyway, these are just moments where we're pressed in tight, and so we have proximity, we have intensity, we have duration. I know we're not going to have frequency because we're all going to leave. So can I spark a little conversation or some fun so that we can turn this, this compaction into something really amazing?
Man, you brought up the tinfoil hat, so I'm just going to throw this out for a second. There's a great graphic that maybe we'll throw in the show notes or something that's like a giant pyramid of like how weird the weird gets in conspiracy.
Yeah.
You've seen,
I've seen it. I saw.
We should print that out and bring that to literally every event. It's like, just point to the one and get in your respective corners of weird. What's the one? And again, I'm not suggesting that this is like a real thing, but I'm pretty sure there was one on there that Finland isn't real. And it's like, how do you get to that? Yeah, right?
Oh, no.
Let's not dedicate any more time on that.
I have to go.
Apologies to everybody that's in Finland. We believe that you exist, and thank you for listening.
For now, we believe it. I have to go research this now. This is great.
You're welcome.
Just going back to 1914 real quick, and the series of books. when you look at some of the names of the individuals who were involved, the financial literacy section was written by a guy named Edward Jones. Well, Edward Jones Corporation exists because he founded that financial planning group so many years ago. These are real people that existed in the world. But what was interesting about, as I have looked up many of their profiles, is that they were regular, ordinary people that did extraordinary things within their organization. It could be the operations director for Ford Motor Company, and he was involved in the operations of moving from product in to product out. It used to be just haphazard. The product came in this side and then it went out that way, but it got streamlined. There's a whole section on organizational management and structure of the organization, and how many people you should manage and how many is manageable. I worked for a company that there was one owner who managed 50 people. If he had that book, he may have distributed out that leadership model and broken up the company into divisions or departments before I even got there, and maybe the company would have looked different by that point. But those ideas still exist today, despite AI, despite technology of the phone. CRM is a really good example from the sales side of things, because traveling salespeople back in the day, they traveled on trains from city to city. They carried trunks into hotels, and that's where the convention actually came from. The hotel owner carved out a place for the salesman to set up their products, and then the customers came to the hotel so that the salesman didn't have to go out to all of these places to show off his wares or her wares, but most of them were male. But my point is that the CRM system back then was a 3x5 index card, and it had the owner's name on it, had the address, had the maybe had a phone number if the phone number existed, but it had their credit worthiness. It maybe had how much they'd purchased over the year before, whether or not they were going to be a bigger prospect. It maybe had a star on it. Well, today we have all those tools available in our CRMs or ERP solutions, and we just have a tool to make it better. It still existed. We still needed that communication method. Describes how to make an introduction. The introduction that came from Kim to you guys is identical to the book and the way the introductions get made. Drew, meet Dave. I think the two of you are going to have a great flourishing relationship. That to me is foundational, because it supersedes AI. And those personal tools, those connections, that interaction, we used to say, we'll have your assistant call my assistant, they can do lunch. Well, now we can have our AI bot call your AI bot and they can do lunch. No, we want to have personal conversations, and that's where the people.
That was a very large, loud video eye roll that I have to go unmuted for.
It's all about people, and that's what the format that you've created, Brian, and you as well, Drew, to bring people together to build relationships, and I love that.
And a lot of it is that all these people that built the world were regular people. I just went on, not to go too long on this, but I just went down a whole rabbit hole about Julius Rosenwald. You guys know who that was? No? You ever hear something called Sears?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of wrote the book on everything retail before other guys took over the thing. I was just reading a whole thing about his life, and you really have to dig, because the guy loved to not be quoted and all of that. He did amazing stuff building schools and stuff in his philanthropic life after that, and basically educated Black America back in the day, and it was amazing. But I remember reading some kind of quote I'm not going to get the quote exactly right, but he basically said that a lot of people that make lots of money are kind of stupid and like just were at the right place at the right time and they were lucky. And I don't really understand why all these people are quoted. So I don't want to be quoted for a whole bunch of stuff. So people that understand the power and influence and impact that they can have, but they don't have to have their name in lights and all of that. And to your point, Dave, just be regular people is I think what makes our whole weird island of interesting people that come to our event so incredible, because I think that's a key ingredient in the recipe of engineering these connections is who you're feeding into the system. Because if somebody says, I just want my name in lights, I don't really have time for you to do this, do that, me, right? Instead of giving first, I really feel like that is just missing, right? So, Drew, you were saying the FBI guy, right? Was it feds, right? It was their job to turn people into double agents. It's almost our job to turn people into not going to brain dead events where they're just like, well, I checked a box and went to an event and put a shirt on. Nope, not enough in today's world, because to Dave's point, you could just have your AIs do lunch and life's too short for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
was just,
as you guys are talking, there's this thing that I have. It's called the ring of truth. So when you're listening to people, you meet really intelligent people, people that know their craft. They don't have to be intelligent, in all areas, but like this is what they do, and they do it better than anybody else in the world. When they speak just casually, you're like, whoa, slow it down. So Nick Alter and I have had we've had a lot of conversations since the event, and he's kind of transformed my understanding of sales. Like I kind of knew all the stuff that he said, but he's just helped me put it in the right assembly line. I'm like, oh, and it's just been super helpful. But he's just a great example of he's not out there asking you to listen to him. He's out there doing it and doing it really super well. And so when you listen to him, he doesn't need to scream from the stage. He just says stuff, and you're like, oh, thank you so much. That's what I needed. So if when Google first came out, people couldn't figure out their business model. Facebook came out, we couldn't figure out their business model. It's advertising. And the old slogan is, if you're not paying for it, you're the product. And to get people to understand that if you're getting a free service, it's because we're bringing you to the table and somebody else is selling to you, and that guy's paying me. That's why you don't have to pay. So when you go to these big conferences, a lot of times everybody that's there is a senior VP of sales, and they're selling to you. So you paid your ticket, your discounted ticket, and you show up and you're being sold to by everybody. You're just being sold to. Whereas you go to something like Innovate, and everybody there has something intelligent to say. It's not a sales slogan. They're not like giving you the hype and the jargon and the essential oil stick. They're just having a conversation, and you're starting to share really meaningful things. It's super fun.
And they're still going to sell to you eventually. Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and one of the things that's a little bit different, it's significantly different, is that it's not a massive group of people. We're talking about a few hundred people as opposed to thousands and thousands. The Society of Human Resource Management, SHRM conference, is 20,000 people, 600 booths on the floor. You can't physically see and meet all of those people. I just met with a woman who's going to a conference in Indianapolis in a couple of weeks. There's 5,000 people. And she said that she has no idea who she's going to meet at that conference. I said, well, find out those people that you know are going to be there and try and set up times with those people that you want to spend time with. That'll at least shoehorn you into something that looks, acts, and feels like this thing. And I told her about the Innovate Summit, and she's like, wow, that's kind of cool. How do I get involved in that? And I said, well, go to Indianapolis first and see what that experience is like. She's a relatively new consultant out of the corporate world. But I said, try and do some things that are different than most people. So many people go to a conference and just expect them to show up at their table, to pick up a promotional pen or some trinket at their table, and that's going to somehow spark a sales conversation, when in fact there's no idea what the organization needs or the individual wants to help solve a problem or a particular challenge. And so I think that as Innovate Summit evolves, we'll get more information from people ahead of time to know what they want out of the conference and who they want to meet at the conference. And I think that that'll make it an even better experience for them.
I love it, man. Everybody wants the room because it's very hard to build a room like this. It's taken me a lifetime so far. Not 80, but it's still taken a few decades. That's not easy, right? I've been there and done that, across lots of industries, lived in different places across the world, and I've built a following. Not just like, oh, I'm a fancy influencer with my bathing suit brand deal. No, none of that crap.
Drew, who was that was just talking? That wasn't Brian. Who was that? Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I just wondered who that was.
Yeah. It's a little wild up there. You don't need to hear everything in my head. But yeah, I think that a lot of folks just expect these conferences to do stuff for you, and they don't want to work that hard. We do want to work that hard. Maybe we're suckers for punishment, but we see the future. And we see that the future is that the small conferences are eating the big. I have this conversation constantly with different places. And the conference industry used to be $1 trillion. And now it's something like 3 to 4 trillion. Why does it keep going up? Right? It's outpacing a lot of other industries because it's an everything industry. Who doesn't have a conference, right? There's conferences about conferences, for crying out loud. So it's okay to work for a living, and we're inspired. We feel it. We understand it. And it's just better business. Why wouldn't you want to know incredible people for life and be selective who you get to work with in this life? I don't know.
One of the things that I found really cool about the event is that there were a number of authors that were there, thought leaders. I feel myself among them, with this kind of crazy hairballed idea of time travel and a business fable. There's not a lot of books out there like that. The Alexander Hamilton Institute, foundational for that. But there were several other individuals who either spoke from the stage or had their books available, thought leaders that I would have otherwise met. Scott Frank is a good example with the Peace, Joy, Harmony, Peace, Harmony, Joy, PHJ, I think. I get the letters wrong, but the thought leadership that was there, it was incredible. It was really good quality leadership. And that was fun to be able to meet other authors and to exchange books and to hear about their writings.
And I think we're going to do that forever because there's a big difference between come to my booth and have a pen or some swag that you're going to throw away anyway. And even here's a book. Why do you just want a book when you can meet the people that wrote the book and hear about it and talk to them? Right? It's a whole other dimension. So thank you for highlighting that. That's important. Let's talk about Nashville for a second, guys, shall we?
All right. Yeah.
Nashville has allure. Nashville is just a fun town. And a lot of folks that I know that are listening to this and they're thinking about coming, hey, guys, at the time of recording, it is August and we are doing this in October. So feel free to sign up already instead of, I can't see a week in front of me. But, such is the world. I understand it. A lot of uncertainty out there. A lot of folks just think that Nashville's fun and they don't understand that it is a global economic powerhouse these days. So it isn't just all of the cool friends that I and some of our cohort knows in the greater Nashville area, but the fact that it is such an economic hub and driver and so many flights and so easy to get to, I really feel like we're about to kick it up a notch. Nashville hot chicken style. Everybody knows Nashville hot chicken.
Yeah.
I had to explain this to people. I'm like, how do you not know what Nashville hot chicken is? Come on. But we're not just going for the chicken, right? We're going for just a really interesting confluence of people. But what are you guys' thoughts on Nashville? What are you excited about?
I love Nashville personally. Nashville is the bachelorette capital of the world, which makes it like Las Vegas. So Vegas is the bachelor capital of the world, and Las Vegas and Nashville is the bachelorette capital. So the vibe of Nashville is a little bit more artsy. It's still like full of energy, and folks are there for all sorts of different types of conferences. Like if you go out the main street, to the music scene. It's great. It's got good sports stadiums. Uh, and then their education is amazing as well. My sister got her, guess, doctorate. Maybe it's a master's. She's a nurse practitioner. So whatever you get to be a nurse practitioner, she got it down at Vandy. And so it's just it's a really interesting confluence. The tech scene is amazing. The arts scene is amazing. The folks that are coming into town kind of have a healthy worldview. I think we all know what a lot of people go to Vegas for, but that's not really what you go to Nashville for. You go to Nashville to make really good memories, not to forget why you were there. So yeah, I love Nashville. Nashville's a hoot.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I'm a country fan. We've got a local woman named Michelle Robinson, who's a recording artist there. She's Cincinnati, and we've gotten to see her twice over the summer. Just incredible to listen to her music, but the music up and down the streets, the vibe of the city is pervasive. You can't go someplace without seeing a guitar, statue of some sort, a cowboy hat, a microphone, and of course the historical Ryman Auditorium and Grand Ole Opry sets the tone for that. I grew up with Minnie Pearl with the with the dangling price tag on her hat, so that she could return it, I guess. So for price I don't think we have put a price return if you showed up, but maybe that'd be an idea. If you brought your hat with a price tag of how much you paid to get into the Innovate Summit, you didn't get the value from that experience. Maybe you could turn the hat in for half of your money back or something. I don't know, Brian. Maybe that's a tin hat conversation, but
I welcome it. And I'm not sure we heard your exact conspiracy theory, but we could talk about that after. But I think that there's a lot of extracurriculars that we should do, and all sorts of like weird escape roomy things and whatnot. I'd love to do that and explore it. I feel like there's almost a disambiguation where we think of a lot of these crazy ideas. We'll run out of time on the show if I elaborate all the things that we've almost tried and not tried at the last minute, because we really try to pour as much energy as possible into strengthening the core, because it's so easy to get distracted in today's noisy world, that really focusing on the quality of the people and the interactions and the event and the books and the authors and the thought leadership and what we're talking about and the experiential, that's what people are going to remember. So yeah, we'll probably have to do something with fun hats, but I'm not sure yet. So Dave, as we kind of round third on this baseball reference, as I'm sure you can appreciate, tell us more about like what's next for Dave. Like, what's Dave working on? What's Dave excited to do next?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. I have additional books in the Echo series that are coming. I've got outlines for Echoes Across the Sea and Echoes from Behind the Plate, baseball-related story. But most recently, I've just recently sent out to a group of my beta readers a piece called Peaceful Profitability. And it intersects storytelling approach in a 30 to 45-minute read about succession planning, work-life balance, and profitability of small businesses. 99.9% of small businesses that aren't profitable ultimately fail. And that means leaving the community. That means leaving employees. Payroll is gone, and the building becomes empty and an opportunity for somebody else. But that idea of succession planning and doing so yesterday, today, tomorrow is top of mind for me, because I'm getting older, and more of my peers who have businesses have kids that aren't wanting to take over the business, or they have not done the planning for their leadership team to take it on from a financial perspective. And I think this book, Peaceful Profitability, will connect the dots between work-life balance and profitability in a really short piece, intended again to help CPA firms, Chamber of Commerce leaders, commercial bankers who know the ins and outs of a business owner's life, to say, here, maybe this is a wake-up call. And it's kind of a fun read. There's a spoiler alert. the patriarch of the business, he dies. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time. There is death involved, but death is a part of life and important to the storyline here.
Yeah, man.
Well, otherwise it would just be sci-fi with immortality. So I'm glad that there there are limits. Go ahead, Drew.
Sure.
No, I have a site that I put up since Innovate called getsellableBook.com, and I'm in the middle of editing that book. But the idea is that there's 3 exits. You're either going to close your business because you want to, you're going to close your business because somebody makes you, for instance, a life event. I've recently had a friend that their wife got dementia. And so they're like, I'm closing because I'm spending the last good years I have with her. I have another friend that had cancer. I have a friend that had a stroke. So you bringing up the mortality, you know, I think that mortality is something we don't really think about very often. But I tend to have friends that are about 10 years older than me. So that kind of population, that group of folks has started to run into these life-changing things. And if you don't, so either you choose the exit or the exit chooses for you. You're going to exit. That's the given. The question is, are you going to choose the exit or is the exit going to be chosen for you? Like I had one friend who, and this is in the book, but he had a stroke and then his business partner who, he was the sales guy and the business partner was like, I can't run this thing without you. So then the business partner sold it. So like he sold his business, but he had no play in that decision. And so like, we got to get really honest. My great grandmother, my wife's grandmother, we're having the nursing home conversation right now. And it's a tough conversation. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, where do I want to be when I'm 75, 85 years old? Am I living the life that I want to? So I'm ready for that moment, which goes to your succession planning. The best time to succession plan, to Dave's quote earlier, is yesterday. And the next best time is right now.
That's absolutely right. And again, at my age, I'm 64, so I'm a little bit older than the two of you. I have seen those exact same things that you're mentioning, Drew, live themselves out. And the children are forced to, or the wife is forced to. I purchased a business from the spouse as the husband was going through cancer treatment. And he could not actually even negotiate the contract.
Yeah.
But the business had value, and it had value to her despite it not being in the business. So it's a painful conversation to have, but just as important for the family members who are coming up and saying, no, you know what? I really don't want to own a dairy farm. Dad, I want to be honest with you. I want to be an engineer. And the dad saying, well, that's fine. Now I can do something else with it, or I can make the decisions. There's a lot of family members that aspire or want their kid to become an accountant, so they take over the accounting practice, or an architect to take over the architectural firm, and they want, or they hope. Hope is not a strategy. We all know that. We hope that our kids are going to grow up into that role, but most of the time, or much of the time, they do not.
Yeah. Well, and it's amazing how often, especially the boomer generation, will comment that hope is not a strategy, and they'll live their entire life super pragmatic, except when it comes to the exit planning question.
No, it's because it's quotable, right? Like it's more fun to just say that and pretend that you're thinking about it.
And I think it's also more fun to lecture other people than it is to think about your own problems.
Back in my day, we used to
like, hey kid, you're not doing it right. Hope's on a plan. Well, in this case, maybe this is something you've not done.
Work-life balance was different. In the generation before me, people worked 16 hours a day. They worked 6 days a week. They didn't take vacations the way that, that we address work-life balance. And not to push it over to the other side of the ocean, but to push it over to the other side of the ocean, there's many countries that have mandated vacation time or paternity time, maternity time off. That's far exceeding here in the United States. It's just built in. There, you hang a sign that says "I'm on holiday," and we'll be back in September. Well, okay, if that's what that's the way you run your business. That's terrific. But here in the United States, if you're running a business and you're the generation ahead of me, or even in my generation, you're there grinding it out. You're trying to get it profitable. You're trying to build the value of it up so that your kids or you eventually have. And oftentimes we forget that there's peace along the way. And that's part of the way the book is drawn out, is that it allows for people to think about what they do in their off time, how they plan for vacations going forward. And this is kind of a fun read. So I'll make sure that both of you get a copy of it.
Yeah, we'll have you on the show. We'll have you back on my show to talk about it when it's published. I'll look forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely looking forward to the read. I know you're going to knock it out of the park like you always do, because you know how to tell a story instead of just read a bunch of ingredients in a recipe, right? If you go to a fancy restaurant with your significant other, you want the chef to like sit there and read the ingredient manifest, or you just want the freaking steak. Why is it so hard? Common sense ain't so common, I guess. But Dave, always a pleasure. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person sooner than later. Later is Nashville, so be it. And Drew, always a pleasure. Let's keep on doing this thing, shall we?
Great spending time with both of you.
Beautiful. Thank you, gentlemen. Enjoy the day. Thanks, y'all.
You too.
Peace. Thanks for tuning in to the Innovate Summit podcast. See you at our next event in Nashville, October 21st through 22nd.